You know, every great story or myth, begins with a hero who leaves the known world and who leaves home and in search of this great adventure. And it would be a pretty logical assumption that the only reason that one would leave any particular location would be to eventually arrive at a different one, and preferably a better one. And the hero seeks newfound lands, treasure, the Holy Grail, and they say that love is the child of illusion, that it's illusion that brings lovers together. And I think in the same way, this hero's call to adventure is also a child of illusion. And without this illusion, the hero would never begin his journey. Without the illusions of arrival, the hero would never leave home. But there comes a time for every hero when his illusions and fantasies about his path are broken, when the concept or the ideas of what he believed arrival would be, what it would give him, how it would make him feel are shattered. And I want to explore that today, of what happens then. The core illusion that drives the hero forward is that he will find some place that is better. Another city, another lover, more money. And the greatest of these illusions is this concept of arrival, or those things represent this arrival. Arrival representing a final place of accomplishment, freedom from suffering, peace without war, and a permanent state of, I guess, transcendental bliss, of perfect meaning and grace. And I think arrival may look different, obviously for all of us, of what our concept of that arrival looks like, whether it's a particular revenue sort of marker, a net worth number, a particular title or position, spiritual enlightenment, a body of work that we create and present to the world, a certain house, a certain city. But like I was saying, after so many of these arrivals, the illusion of arrival is eventually shattered, and the hope of the next arrival fulfilling what none of the previous arrivals were able to fulfill is kind of lost. And this generally leads to a period of nihilism, and I can relate. There's this period of nihilism, of great meaninglessness, and a certain knowing that there's nothing in this world that can satisfy me permanently, and that the horizon will always move with me. That it doesn't matter how far I run in chase of the horizon, I can't reach its end. And so I'm interested in the question of, what do you do with that realization? Because it is not sustainable to stay in a place of nihilism long term. Nihilism is, I believe it's necessary, but it's very destructive. And so there is no arrival, but there is a becoming. And I think the question that I'm sitting with is can I fall in love with this process of my own becoming without any hope of arrival? And, Nietzsche said that, becoming is the fundamental nature of reality. And, he's got his famous line, and it's actually, I think it's the subtitle to his book, this book right here. how one becomes what one is, or this instruction to become what you are. And And he's not talking about the discovery of some pre-existing or predetermined essential self, but the creation and the forging of a self through suffering, through the beautiful tragedy of being, through failure, and through the thousand little humiliations of growth, and the forging of one's own values, the creating of one's own individual meaning, the refusal to take it from the outside, but to create it for yourself. And he sees the last man as the man who thinks he's arrived, but only because he is blind. And, Carl Jung, talked about life as this process of individuation, this process of becoming, this descent. And that's, a journey that is never realized. It's, and for Jung, it wasn't about trying to get to some completion, but it was about engagement with that process. And, during my own battles with nihilism, in those moments of arrival that fade, when you're sitting around surrounded by everything that maybe you could possibly have dreamed of at a certain age, at a certain stage in life, the fantasies and dreams that were projecting when you find yourself inside of them, that nihilism, it can be crushing. And I had that, experienced it a few times, but the last time I dove into Albert Camus and his book, The Myth of Sisyphus, and he describes this as the absurd, an absurd freedom. And in his myth of Sisyphus, or his reading of it, the hero Sisyphus is condemned to roll this great boulder up a hill for all eternity, and it just keeps rolling back down, and his job is just to keep rolling it back up, and there is no end, there is no completion, there's no finality. And he ends the book with saying that, we must picture Sisyphus with a smile on his face. It's been said that it ends when you accept that it never ends. And it's a hard idea to grapple with, because we are so wired to find final conclusions, to get to some place. We are sold our whole lives this concept of arrival, this illusion of arrival. It drives the whole world forward. But the question is, can I fall in love with my own becoming? Can I love the beautiful tragedy of my own being? Can I bear the unbearable lightness of my life? And can I stop looking for some end outside of me and fall in love with this moment right here, this beautiful moment of my own becoming? Can I embrace and love my own eternal becoming? And can I picture Sisyphus with that smile on his face?